Let's go ahead and do the mandala. So please make the mudra for the mandala. Here is a great earth filled with the smell of incense and covered with a blanket of flowers. The great mountain, the four continents, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayame. I go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I do in giving and the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I achieve enlightenment. By the power of the goodness that I do in giving and the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. By the power of the goodness that I do in giving and the rest, I will reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. Okay. Rejoicing. Let's see. Let's start with Svetlana. You're up in the upper left corner for me. Whoops. No, she disappeared. I guess she doesn't want to rejoice. Svetlana. She doesn't have sound. Well, that makes it hard to rejoice. Let's try reading her lips. I'm kidding. Natalia, what do you have to rejoice in?
What I have to rejoice, I shared Svetlana's video. She made a short video to participate in a competition to win a scholarship to go to Mexico and stay during the retreat that Geshe is having in Mexico. And there is a competition, whoever makes a short video and post it. So if it's get rated well, so they will get the scholarship. So I spread and sent this video to many people, and I'm rejoicing, and I'm hoping Svetlana will get the scholarship.
Oh, very good. That's very powerful. Well, now I have two of them. There she is. Can't hear you still. I can't hear her.
She wrote in the chat that, sorry, I don't have sound.
Oh, okay.
No.
I managed it with another device. Should I share rejoicing?
Please.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. Today I'd like to rejoice that I had an opportunity to join the long life ceremony of Dalai Lama. That was amazing. Yeah, so I'm very grateful that I live in this time when Dalai Lama is with us, and I wish very long life, and let every being be under his care.
Very good. Maybe this will be the time that we see him not to die. Maybe we'll all have the karma to see him live an extraordinary lifetime. But we don't hear you again.
Yeah, I was trying to translate to Russian.
Oh, okay. Okay. Evgeny, what do you have to rejoice in? Well, maybe
Я сегодня хочу порадоваться за
I would
Светлану.
like to rejoice today for Svetlana for her wonderful video, which I watched before, but I didn't know what for this video. But I wish her that Mexico come to her life, And I also rejoice that I today connected people with Dharma in the debates of angel and with devil, and was able to help with Spanish language because video was not in a good quality, and it was not understandable how to change it, but I was able to make it. So I connected Spanish Sangha with Dharma.
Excellent, excellent. Would someone send me a link? I don't, if it's on Telegram or Spotify, whatever, or Facebook, I don't do those things. Can someone send me the video link? Thank you. I want to see our rising video star. Okay, who's next? Jackie.
Hello, dearest Lana and Lama Sumati. Thank you all for being here together. I rejoice for the gratitude of being able to give away a beautiful scarf to a lady that was in the street that is not very well off. And she was smiling, and she kept on smiling and waving at me when I was at the shops and leaving. And it was a very special moment to continue to actually give directly to someone. It's very, very sweet, and very grateful for that. May everyone be able to see those that need support and care for others, and maybe be able to look out for each other and support each other in the world.
Excellent.
Are you okay?
Excellent. Excellent. That's great. Okay, who's next? Sheila.
Hi, good afternoon. I rejoice that every day in the morning I'm fighting with my worst affliction, the impatience, because when I, in the morning, when I go to the gym or to a park to run at 5:30 a.m., I go in car, and when the lights off, it's in red, I stop, and there's no traffic, but I inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, and then when the light puts in green, I go, and I'm very happy because I am working hard with my patients, and I am protecting my life, and the life of the others, and that's my rejoice.
Well, that's very good. That's a tough one when you're in the middle of absolutely nowhere and there's a stoplight, and you look around thinking, oh, I can just go ahead and run this. And we have one right outside of where I live, and you look both ways and there's nobody on the road, but you're not supposed to do it, so you don't. So good for you.
Yes, and I also respect the rules, because I have to stop, and I stop.
Very good. Very good. Well, remind me not to drive with you next time I'm in Mexico.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Okay, Katya. Is
Hi.
that why you don't drive places with your sister?
No, I don't go with her. I don't like it. Well, my rejoice is that this weekend I learned how to edit videos, and that so that I can help ACI with some editing. So I'm very happy about that, and I dedicate it so that all people can learn something new, and they can serve better to the others.
Very good. Very good. What's the software you're using for the editing?
I don't remember the name. Is iMovie.
Oh, iMovie. It's an Apple product.
Yes. It's easy.
Oh, okay. I'm very happy for you. That's always just a powerful new tool for you. And you're doing wonderful, wonderful. You get to edit all kinds of different teachers. This is great. I'm really excited for you, except for the fact it's an Apple product, but I won't hold that against you. So is that everybody? I think except me. I had some interesting
Jackie.
comments. What's that?
We have Jackie. Oh, she said, she already said, okay,
She did,
sorry.
yeah, she did the scarf. I had some interesting karma pop up this week, and I'm pleased that I did not respond incorrectly, but it was where the first thing was I had decided I was going to do the three principal paths and prepared all the materials for the upcoming Tara blessing. Then I heard that we were going to have over 100 Russian and Ukrainian students that didn't know anything about how to put up an altar. So that meant they probably hadn't had any classes. And so the three principal paths might have been too much for them. So I started redoing my notes and for a source of all my good and found out that they were corrupted and very difficult to work with. So I switched back to the three principal paths. And after this class, I'm going to download them onto a memory stick so they can't get corrupted if my computer's falling apart. But I didn't get mad. I just said, okay, that's the way it is. I have the karma for this to happen because I've disrupted others' chances to prepare for class. So I was very pleased with that. I really didn't get mad at all. I didn't get mad at myself. I didn't get mad at the computer. I just accepted it and moved on. Then I found out we had all these new students coming, and I had to make a decision because you just can't teach, even though the Tara blessing is a Kriya Tantra, well, I don't want to say lowest, but the lowest Tantra in the four Tantra classes. I feel you need to have refuge in the lifetime layperson vows at least in order to even hear it. And because I'm taking the responsibility on as the instructor. So I had to craft a 5 or 6 point description of what's going on and send that to a lot of people that are doing the translations. And the problem is it's retroactive. But I arranged this initially to go with the German and Austrian group, and they're all highly qualified. So what I learned, and I didn't get mad at anybody. I was mad. Well, I did get, I was sad for myself because I didn't do a better job of describing what was going on to the translators and other people. But I wrote, carefully crafted, I hope, a note that explained what was going on, who I wanted to have in charge of what countries, and that has either been sent out or will be sent out this weekend. So I'm just pleased that I'm pleased with my reaction to the whole thing. It's tempting, and I guess this is one of the things I'm pleased with. Believe me, to have 200 students listening to me would be pretty cool. But if I'm doing it for the numbers, that's the wrong reason to teach. So I decided, it didn't even occur to me to just let it go. I am going to teach, if people want the refuge vows and refuge commitments and the lifetime layperson vows, we're going to arrange to give that over Zoom. So, oh, I know, I have another rejoiceable, a student from Vietnam who I met when did I meet him? October, I guess. He wants to fly out from Vietnam and come to Tucson for the teaching, which really impresses me. So I've invited him to stay at our house, and he's going to help us with the preparation, help myself in LA with the preparation, but he needs the refuge and lifetime layperson vows. So I will give those to him Wednesday before the teaching starts. But I'm just really impressed. That's quite a journey to come out for 5, 6 days. But it's high karmic object for him, and I'm just excited. That's pretty neat that someone thinks that much of what's going on. So, Jackie, it sets a high hurdle for you. How are we going to get you to come out? We'll have to figure something out. We will. We'll figure something out. Maybe there can be a scholarship for Australia. We'll figure it out. There's plenty of time left. Okay. So I've rejoiced. And Natalia, did you get the did Joanna send out the was it nicely worded?
Very, very clear and very nicely. Thank you so much.
Well, you know, the only trouble with asking my students these things is they're never going to say it stunk. So if any of you feel free, if you don't like what I've written, feel free to gently tell me you don't like it. Gently. Say something like, this isn't your best effort, Sumati. That's gentle. Instead of saying, who wrote this crud? But okay, enough of that. So class 6, this is an interesting class. Very interesting class because he's going over kind of in a shotgun manner, scattered manner, the death we'll just get into it. So we've been talking in the last class or classes, we were talking about asking yourself everything you do, brushing your teeth, going to the bathroom, taking a shower, drinking a cup of coffee, using the computer. Ask yourself, why are you doing this? What's the point of my doing this? And it's not, there is a right answer, but it's not to punish yourself, oh, I'm not doing this for the right reason. It's to identify the reasons you are doing something, and they may be the right reason, they may not be. The ultimate reason we have for anything we do, we should have for anything we do, is to help all living beings reach total enlightenment. So when you're brushing your teeth and you say to yourself, I'm brushing my teeth because I don't want to get cavities. Well, that's good, but one, brushing your teeth isn't going to prevent cavities right then. And two, you could be brushing your teeth so that your teeth stay in your mouth so that you can teach the Dharma to a lot of people. Now that's the right motivation. So in these instances, it's not that you're doing something so much wrong, it's that you could be doing it better. So you check yourself constantly with this, and you'll find out it's very, very subtle. In many cases, very, very subtle. If you really ask yourself why you're doing something, it requires great honesty. If you want to catch yourself saying, just because I want to, then you become aware of how little you are helpful to others. Because if the answer is always just because I want to, there's no sense of responsibility to others' needs. Now, I would be willing to bet none of us, well, we rarely say just because I want to. Maybe we did before we met the Dharma, but now it's like the question I've had you all ask about seeing things self-existently. It's the same kind of a question. It's not the same question, but it's the same kind of a question. Catch yourself. In one sense, it's the motivation. In the other sense, it's your understanding of karma and emptiness. So let's see, what else does he say on this? So, Geshe, this is interesting because today was the first day of some devil and angel talks he's giving. The origin of that idea, the devil and angel talks, is this lecture on, let me see the date. This was on, oops, wrong date. This is in 2011 in Phoenix. I think it's April in Phoenix, 2011, where he first comes up with the idea of the devil and angel talk. So he said he was thinking, what would make the older students, when we were in 3-year retreat, he had these LamRim teachings, and there were the older students, the senior students that came, there were the middle students, and there were the younger students that had just found out about Time and Mountain. They had to teach something that would engage everybody. So you have to teach something that will engage those that know very little about it. So you have to teach something pretty basic. You want to teach something that's fairly complicated for the senior students. And you want to teach something that's interesting for the vast majority of the students in the room. So how do you do that? Well, he came up with this idea of the angel and devil debates. And so that's where that started. I always wondered where that started. Now I know. And I think the author was the first Panchen Lama from 1385 to 1438, who was Kedruje, one of Geshe Kapa's two senior students. So he talks about the devil debating the angel, and the devil's no fool. He's the guy he's the main feature of the book. He's saying things and then the angel's replying. So they compete, and someone wins, someone loses. What would it be like to have this conversation going on? Well, he talks about, this is where he gets into death, segues into death, I think. It's not really clear. What would it be like the last time you go to work? And he talks about getting a diamond of some kind and packing up and no longer having to scan his ID going into the office and things like that. And then he says, let me get to the right paragraph. Then you go to the hospital the last time and you ask your mind, well, what will happen after that? So somehow he went from giving up, retiring from work to going to the hospital for the last time. But anyway, the point is you get to the hospital and you don't know what's going to happen. When I go to the hospital, it never occurs to me I'm not going to come out in better shape than when I went in. But I don't know if you've heard the story of Jim Henson, who was the creator and puppeteer for the Muppets. That actually was a British thing first, because the major channels in the US didn't think it would go very well. So he was over in Britain, and he came across to the States, and they had very great success. And one day he didn't feel so good. So I went into the hospital, and it turned out to be a small infection, but they didn't catch it in time. And he died of the infection becoming a super infection. And what was it? They call it a systemic infection. And it just wiped him out. So he went into the hospital thinking, oh, I'm just going to have a day or two of antibiotics and I'll come home. And he died. But I never think of that. When I go to the hospital, I just assume I'm going to come out the other end healthier. So he's talking about sitting there and in his bed, and he'll be in a hospital. He'll stop breathing. The machine will go beep, beep, beep. The nurses will come in and shrug. And then what? For most people, they draw a blank. They don't know what's going to happen. Every human mind that hasn't been trained well, when they reach the logical discussion of their mind about the last moment, they say, well, what then? Deep down, you know, there's a deep, deep shock of the being. Then there's a fierce darkness. Then there's chaos. Then there's terrible experiences. The mind, all the seeds in the mind that you collect in this life, every tiny negative deed are firing off. And that's what's going to help determine your next life. But that's what we know. Think of what it must be like for someone who has no idea. When I rolled my truck, I had no worries. I believed I knew what was coming next. And so I just accepted it. I'm really, I don't know what's going on with my body, but I'm really uncomfortable, so I'll stick it out, but I'm kind of squirming around, so that explains it. Okay, let me get back to what we're doing. All the seeds in your mind that were you collected in this life, every tiny negative word projects like a tsunami in front of you. Now it's interesting, he says all the bad seeds. What about the good seeds? When you die, do the good seeds not ripen? I think they do. I think they do. So you've got a world with good and bad, and the question is then, whichever is your prevalent karma, the habitual karma, will take over and you'll be either vegetarian or a meat eater and born in a country that's good for Dharma or not. But I think good seeds ripen too. They must, I think. So anyway, if you don't know anything about the Dharma, you're confronted with this chaotic ripening of your karma. And you don't know what to do, so you could be reborn in any one of the 6 realms. But if you've trained your mind well, and this is something we need to talk about more shortly, if you trained your mind well, you can force yourself to be reborn in samsara, in the human realm, or if you're really good, you can not be reborn at all and get to total enlightenment. That takes a lot of training and a lot of perseverance, because apparently when you see the chaos, it's terrifying, and your first reaction is one out of terror, which won't get you into total enlightenment in this lifetime. Well, in that next lifetime. I said we're going to talk about something later. This is not one of my better days. What was I going to talk about later? Oh, the training. The training, there's a thing called POA, which has 5 powers in it, which we're not going to go into now. But a lot of times the Lama will come and teach POA over the weekend. That isn't sufficient to get you into total enlightenment. You need to take a POA course from a properly trained instructor and practice POA diligently for years to train your mind to be able to react properly. Now, having said that, when I rolled my truck, I wasn't scared. I really wasn't scared. I was curious what was going to happen next. Now, that doesn't mean I've been well trained in POA, because I haven't been. But that means I made some steps in the right direction, because otherwise I would have been going, oh my God, now what's going to happen? I didn't. I just thought, well, I guess we'll see how well the Toyota's built. We'll see if I'm going to see my lovely wife again. If I'm not, and I guess that's what happens when you drive too fast when it's really windy. So if you can have that kind of attitude in your car or in an environment like that, I think you're well on your way to the goal you want. But that may just be wishful thinking on my part. We don't have a POA meditation module. He does teach POA, I think, it's 16 or 15 or 16 or 17. I think. Anyway, but it's not a full up class on POA. It's just going over the basic POA material. Okay. A new world, a chaotic, unparticularly violent world, and then you pass into it. You send it forth in front of you, then you walk into it. And if you're a well-trained person, then you know that that's true. And it connects with something deep inside. You've been through this countless of times. Something deep inside you says, yeah, I've been here, and it's frightening, and your mind wants to not think about it. But if you've been trained, if you have some kind of training, then you know that you can control the whole process. If you're a well-trained Buddhist, you can do something about it And that's where this POA concept comes in. If you have some training, then you can control the process. So what happens to you after the moment of death can be controlled to a great extent. That is something these LamRim teachings are going to teach us. So that's why I need to stick with it, because at the end of the LamRim, you'll have enough knowledge to know how to confront your death in the most positive way. I highly recommend, if you haven't taken the death meditation module, I highly recommend you take that, because that is another beautiful preparation for preparing your mind for death, preparing your mind for the fact that you can't, the only thing that stays with you at death is the Dharma. Your possessions don't come with you, your friends don't come with you. There are three things that are certain in death. You're going to die, not much can keep you alive, and three, only the Dharma will help. But that's the death meditation course, and we'll teach that again. I taught that in the last couple of months, but we could teach it again pretty quickly if there's students that want it. With the proper training, you can assure that nothing bad will happen to you. You can do what is necessary to not end up in a hell realm or preta or animal realm. Actually, and you don't want to end up in the God realm. So what you need to do is learn how to direct yourself to either not be reborn at all, which would be the best, or to be reborn in the human realm with teachers. You set the stage now by teaching, by going to teachings, to helping students get to teachings, by participating in a video contest. And that's the important thing, Svetlana, is whether you win or lose that video has been seen by a lot of people and is hopefully helping them decide to get into the Dharma. So win or lose, you're winning anyway. I'm really curious to watch it. How long is that video? Hour, half an hour?
No, it's a very short one. Do you want to watch it now?
Sure, let's watch it now.
Okay,
Let me go get some popcorn.
Okay, it's like a minute. It's a short video, but it's very cute. Let me see if I can share the screen though. Just a second. Okay, so share. Can I share? Yeah, I can share the screen. And where was it? Hold on just a second. History. Here we go. But you cannot hear it, right? You cannot hear. I need to share again because I need to share the sound. Just a second. Let me share it again with the proper. Could you hear it or no?
It didn't last long enough.
Okay, so let's try. I don't see where to share with.
There's a little checkbox on the lower left of the share screen that says share sound.
I don't see it. Oh, here we go. Share sound.
I think it's on the left. Maybe it's
Yes,
on the right.
they moved it. Okay, so let's try it second time. Cancel. Here Okay. And it starts all over. I think this,
Wow,
it's very good.
wow. Svetlana, you have a up and coming, well, the two of you have an up and coming career of making short videos. I particularly liked It's My Karma So with the parentheses and the W. That I really liked. I really like that. Not because I came up with it, but because it meant enough for you to put it in. That really makes my heart, warms my heart. Thank you. That makes my day, my week, my month, and maybe even this first part of my year. So very good. I'd like you to, can you send me the link anyway to the video? I'd like to show it to my lovely wife.
I did email it to you.
Okay, let me get my notes back up. I think I shrunk them. Okay. What you need to be best prepared for what happens at death. You have to know where your world is coming from. Just appreciate where your world is coming from. Like the most irritating person in your life this week, just try to grasp that they're coming from you. They're an exact reflection of how you've been acting for the last few months. The most irritating person in your life, the person that frustrates you, the person that you can't get along with, everything they say is wrong, is difficult for you to handle. And you say to yourself, well, I've got one student that moved to another country because she got an ideal job. And she was so happy she got this ideal job. It was perfect. 6 months later, they moved to this other country. And 6 months later, she's looking for another job. The company she fell in love with, she's not so much in love with anymore. So I'm not sure how many more firings or leaving of company she's going to have to do to realize the discomfort she's having in that particular office is not due to the people in the office. It's what they leave. It's their essence that they leave. So if she has an unhappy atmosphere, it's because of her past karma and her deeds, not the supposed essence that when I say essence, it's like, oh, how can I put it? That's kind of how I describe it when you think someone else is at fault, is the reason things aren't going well. Somehow they've left this essence that creates a world you don't want. But every time she moves, it's the same thing. It's a great job, and then it's not such a great job, and she doesn't get along with her coworkers, and the coworkers aren't bright enough, et cetera, et cetera. There's a common thread, and that common thread is her losing interest in the job and then blaming it on others. Another one of my students found out that he had been doing something that really irritated a bunch of people that he didn't know anything about. That's why when I ask you if there's a problem, if I ever ask you individually or as a group, is there a problem? I expect an honest answer. Now, there are all kinds of, when you get into Tantra, there are all kinds of rules of respect for your teacher. I had this actually happen recently, and I got some very good feedback from several of you that was very helpful for what I was doing, because I asked you to be honest and you were. So I greatly appreciate that. Because if you're just saying you liked it because you don't want to contradict your Lama, that's not what I'm asking for. So this is the people in your office that are difficult to deal with, the people in the subway. Was that the subway you were walking around in, Svetlana? Wow, that's a lot of people. Was that the central station in Moscow?
Yeah, yeah, it's like ring, and yeah, in the central, not the most central, but yes.
Wow. Do you have to squeeze onto the trains? Are they always packed?
Oh, it's often squeezed because you are staying and doors are closing like this. But when I started to record this video, like I decided that I will let all people come first. And at those moments, there were less people as usual. It was funny.
Uh-huh. Good for letting. Now, that's something people do for me now, is they see me come in and they offer me a seat. And I don't mind standing, but there's something I learned a long time ago, and it was from one of the students from Mexico. I don't remember his name. He's part of the Peachtree Cafe video.
One?
Juan came to me with a cup of green drink, which I do not like. He came and offered it to me, and I said, no, thank you. And he kind of looked at me strangely and walked away. This is a long time ago, like a long time ago. And I realized several years later that I had turned out a sincere offering from a student, and I shouldn't have. So I went to apologize to him, and he looked at me and said, I don't remember doing that, but thank you. When someone makes an offering to you, you should accept it. It's an offering. It's something they wanted you to have. Now, if someone was to give me a Apple computer, I'm not asking for one. That would be tough. I'd probably find someone to give it to. But first, two things about offering from the two sides of the coin they're offering. One, only offer the best you can. If you can't, if you have a favorite type of cookie, and there is one self-existently best type of cookie, but you have to be in the Tara class to understand that. Give the best you can. Don't give second best. And the second side is, if you're the person being offered to, graciously accept the offering and sincerely accept the offering, because the karma for the student is what you're concerned about. The karma for the student making an offering to a teacher is very powerful. That's a very powerful karmic object he or she's offering to. So you want to make that be a complete action of karma, which means you have to accept it. So that's my little 2 cents worth about offerings. Now we know, although this is, how many of you have taken the 3 principal paths, not the source of all my good? Yeah? Okay, you know the mirror room? The mirror room, we have that be where you're reflecting on your open vows before the Bodhisattva vows, your freedom vows, and your refuge commitments. And the idea of the mirror room is you have, I like to make it a dodecahedron, so a 12-sided room. And there are 6 pairs, matching pairs of parallel mirrors. And if they're done exactly right, which is extremely hard to do, if they're done exactly right, the reflection's infinite. You look in the reflection and it bounces back and forth and goes back into infinity, an infinite number of mirrors going one way and going the other. But that takes absolutely perfect alignment. So the point of the mirrors is, when you move in that mirror room, you instantly see it, because all the reflections of your body movement. And that means we're talking about the fact that your world is an exact reflection of how you've been acting for the last few months or years. And any tiny movement you make is reflected, and I like to think magnified. So in that room, just to complete the visualization, in that room your vows, your refuge commitments are scrolling in gold letters around the edge of the room, and they're reminding you of those vows or commitments. And then the other thing in the room are these very delicate glass or porcelain statues, figurines about maybe this tall on a pedestal. And you have to be extremely careful not to knock one over. They represent your vows. You're trying very hard not to break them. All that's a reflection of the world you're looking at as you're dying. And the mirror room is where you come to grips with what's going to be possibly in your, what do we call it? We call it projection and finishing karma. Projecting karma is the karma that's most prevalent. So if you eat a lot of M&Ms, I don't know anybody who eats a lot of M&Ms. Well, I do, but we aren't going there. If you eat a lot of M&Ms, then when you die, maybe your projecting karma is going to be a lot of M&Ms or a lack of M&Ms. The finishing karma is whether or not they're chocolate covered peanuts or they're Reese's peanut butter or they're just plain chocolate. That's a positive. If you have, let's see, what are the combinations? Finishing karma and projecting karma. If you have, how does it go? Good, bad projecting would be hell realm. Good finishing would be the king of hell. Bad finishing, bad projecting, bad finishing would be hell realms in the lowest hell. That's 2. Good finishing, good projection, good finishing, reborn in samsara, in the desire realm, and you have plenty of chances to study the Dharma. Unless I don't remember the last one. But the point is, just thinking nice thoughts as you're dying isn't going to be sufficient. It's going to be what happens is the most prevalent, most habitual karma is going to be on the top of the pile. And that's what's most likely going to ripen, unless you have the training necessary to focus your mind so tightly that doesn't happen. So that's our goal. That's the goal, the whole goal of the LamRim. Because in order to reach total enlightenment, you can't die in the traditional sense of the word. So you have to be able to get around that by escaping that part of the samsaric circle. Okay. Let me see here. What you need to be best prepared, they say, know where your world is coming from. Just know, just appreciate that your world is coming from, like, what's it coming from? The most irritating person in your life this week, just kind of try to grasp where they're coming from. They are an exact reflection of how you've been acting for the last few months. Everything they say, everything they do, all their mannerisms are coming from you. Oh, I know what I wanted to. Let me see. I had a page here. Hang on. Oh, come on. Well, can't find it. Oh, that's because I'm in the wrong class. Just bear with me here. It's worth it. Well, that's class 9. I want class 6. 7. We're getting there. Oh, man. I was going to bookmark it. I said, no, I'll find it easily. Well, can't find it. Maybe if I think of, let me try one more thing. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to search. Find. I'm going to say projection. I find that hard to believe. I spelled it right. Let's try something else. Well, I'm wasting time. I'll find it and we'll talk about it next class. If you're well trained, you can make sure certain things don't happen, certain things do happen. It's not difficult. You just have to know what's happening, what it is, which is what it means to be a really good person. You can't complain about anyone anymore, about other people, once you realize they are a perfect reflection of yourself. Wait a minute, maybe this is. No, this is something else. What's summarized here, and you've heard this all before in Christian teachings, but do unto others what you would have them do unto you. Is that right? Do unto others what you would like it done to you. So when you mistreat someone, you're setting yourself up to be mistreated. That's not how you'd like to be treated. So for instance, writing the note that I passed along to Natalia. So I don't know that you were in that thread. I'll have to look and see. No, you're translating. You weren't trying to organize students. I wrote it the way I'd like to receive it. So I wrote it in a context of concise. I wouldn't say cheerful. How would you describe it, Natalia? It was concise.
Yeah, it was up to the point, very clear and concise, yes.
Okay, it didn't have any blame. I wasn't telling people what they shouldn't do. I was telling people what I wanted them to do. And it would have been very easy to write this note saying, you shouldn't have done this, even though you think it was right, you shouldn't have done it. Instead, I said, and I would like Natalia to do this, and I'd like Gabby to do that, etc. And it took me a while to learn that lesson, but Joanna Prather, who's German and is a really wonderful lady, she's a coach. Well, I always refer to him just as coach, a life coach, I guess they call him. And I sent it to her asking her to critique it and correct it. And she sent it back and said, there's nothing to correct. So I wrote her back and said, does that mean I can become a life coach? And she didn't write me back. So I think that doesn't mean I can become a life coach. But anyway, the point is, if you're going to correct someone, correct them in the manner that you would, if someone is correcting you, that you would take positively and do something about. So I'm sure we've all been corrected by someone who just says, you're the stupidest thing on the planet. Why'd you do that? Versus saying, what didn't you understand? How was I unclear? Now, you may wonder why the heck they couldn't understand your instructions because you wrote them down pretty clearly. But that's not the point. The point is, how do you treat another person in a way that will gain them the knowledge you need them to have without getting them all riled up and mad at you? That's the key. And once you learn that key, you have to redo it time and time again for all the times you didn't do it right in the past. But I was so pleased that turned out well. Once you know they're coming from you, you cut them some slack, and just knowing prevents you from having very terrible experiences after you die. If you keep that kind of thinking up, then when you die, you can go to paradise, you can go to heaven. Which thinking can be summarized in the words, you know, do unto others as you would have them judge you, do unto you. It's the same thing, Christian, Buddhist, whatever. How do you guarantee the process once you've figured out what it is? How do you guarantee that's going to work? I think that's where we'll leave it for today. So think about it. What would you do? How do you know what you're doing is going to work? And it has to do with, obviously, with karma and emptiness. So think about it. We'll talk about that, and I'll take the I'll find what I was looking for to share with you. Another short class, but I'm really uncomfortable. I'm not sure what's going on with my medication, but I'm really uncomfortable. So I'm going to call it a day. So now next week, I know we have to talk about next week because I have a student coming from Britain. So let me get my calendar. There it is. Let me get my calendar and we can just discuss what's going to happen next week. Okay, next week on the 18th, which is a week from today, no, on the 19th, Dominique comes. So we'll have class as normal on Monday the 17th. Then Thursday, no, Friday. I'll think about it. I'll let you know on Tuesday what's going to happen Friday. She's here from Britain for 4 days. She certainly could listen to the teaching. So we'll figure that out. Okay, let's dedicate. The whole point of today's class was, yeah, it is possible to if you understand the death process, which we only just touched upon, but we have really good teachings on it within the courses. It is possible to have a degree of direction as to how you're going to be reborn, but it takes understanding karma and emptiness very well. It undertakes the knowing POA very well. And if you really want to do it properly, you get tantric initiation into the highest yoga tantra. But the magic, the key, is understanding it's all coming from you. So if you don't want to go to the hell realm, then you have to, in this life, have done as much as you can to help people be successful and being in kind and nurturing environments. Because that's the kind of karma that's going to ripen. If that's the prevalent karma in your mind, that's what's going to happen and be a projecting karma. If you've been mean to people and mistreated them all the time, that's what's going to ripen, and that's what's going to send you into a realm you don't want to be. So you stop and you think, well, now that I'm a Buddhist, I don't do that kind of thing anymore. But did you in past lives? So when you die, the karma, all your karma, I believe, flashes before you in some sense. So the karmas you did before this life flash before you, catch up with you. So you need to be able to make sure not to react to them. And that's what a good death meditation is all about. Okay. May the precious Bodhi mind not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. May the source of benefit and goodness, the Dharma, spread and expand. May the beings upholding the Dharma have excellent health. May the source of happiness and well-being for all embodied beings, the Dharma taught by the Buddhas, always increase. And may I continue to have such lovely students as you all in all my teachings from now until I don't teach anymore. Okay, with that cheerful thought, we'll see you on Friday. Yay.
Please stay and keep teaching. Thank you.
Well, I'm trying to figure out what's going on with my medication because this is very uncomfortable. I just have to figure this out. But that's my problem, my karma to worry about. Okay. Love you. Bye-bye.
Bye
Take
bye.
care. Look after yourself and enjoy the more movement nourishment with your therapy.
Will do.
Mhm.